morning. Welcome to another awesome session here at TCCA. I hope you enjoyed your last session. I know I enjoyed the last session, but we're up here again with another special guest. She's going to be talking about increasing student engagement and participation in a virtual classroom. We got Claudette Vanravenstein. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Awesome. I didn't butcher another name. Great. So we have Claudette Van Ravenstein, and again, she's going to be talking about increasing student engagement and participation in a virtual classroom. We also have someone in our background helping us out in the chat. We have Miss Pat Vick in the chat. So if you guys have questions, put them in the chat so she can see them, and we can get them to Miss Van Ravenstein. And I'm going to turn it over to you for this outstanding presentation she has for us.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks, Osea, for the nice introduction.
You're
And good
welcome.
morning, everybody. I am so excited to be here with you at the 10th anniversary of the TCCA conference. And for sure, it's a special anniversary. There's over 4,000 attendees and people coming over. Like, I think this morning they updated it to 22 countries in the world. So that's amazing. And I've been myself been lucky to attend this conference live for I think the past 7 or 8 years because I live in the Houston area. But I think it's really wonderful that this year, because they have gone virtually, that we can have such a wide reach and global reach. I hope that today I will be able to give you some great strategies and ideas to help combat the challenges you're facing in your classroom with student participation and engagement. So let's open the door to some great learning this morning. Um, Oopsie. Yeah. So you will have 15 seconds right now to guess through which door the ball will go. So type in 1, 2, or 3, or 4 in the chat right now.
So, guys, if you want to know where you think that ball's going to go in door one, two, three, or four, go ahead and drop it in the chat for us.
Let's see where it's going. Good. I think Gilma got it right. And I see that Brittany too, Larissa, a bunch of you. Awesome. That's great. So, well, hey, now that the door has officially been opened, let's get started. So just a couple of household items. Of course, you're going to use the chat as your back channel and to ask questions. I have Pat and Hosea monitoring that. The presentation will be uploaded to SCAD later on, so no worries. And this presentation will also be recorded and posted on the TCCA YouTube channel, and it will be on there as long as they keep it up. I've given permission to let them keep it up there. And this is an optional thing. I made a digital handout. The QR code you are seeing right now is a link to that digital handout that's optional. That is just something I myself always like to use. A document to make notes. So you're more than welcome to use it or not use it. It also has a link to my presentation in there as well. But again, I will upload the presentation separately into SCAD as well later on. Just know that whenever I am referencing the digital handout, there's this little icon that you see on your screen, the little paper and pencil icon, and it will have the corresponding page number on top of it. So again, this will be a little bit of a fast-paced session. So I've tried to put as much information as I can on my slides. I know that looks a little bit busy, but on the other hand, I wanted you to have something to come back to later on, whenever you wanted to look up things. And at times I will ask for your input, so please be ready to be an active participant. All right. To make sure we're all on the same page, I just wanted to let you know what will be covered in today's sessions. We will be looking at how to boost attendance and participation in virtual class meetings, how to increase engagement through community building, and how to increase student collaboration in a synchronous and asynchronous classroom. And of course, all of this is done with the ultimate goal in mind to increase student learning. So these may be some of the challenges that many teachers or yourself are still facing right now in the classroom, right? These are challenges we definitely had when everybody went in lockdown mode, but I think we are still battling some of these. And so when you look at challenges regarding low attendance, it could be that students just don't show up, right? They don't, in a way, sometimes want to admit that they have been, that they need help. Sometimes, that peer pressure is there. Sometimes they don't want to attend. And this is not because there's other issues going on at home or there's a technology barrier, but just they just don't want to attend or they don't think it's worth their time. And then when it comes to challenges that you might face regarding engagement, it could be that the teacher's asking for responses and nobody responds back. And that's really hard, right? They attend out of compliance because maybe their grade has been tied to their attendance, or they just aren't interested enough in the topic. So, if you're brave enough to share with your fellow participants in the chat whether you've had similar challenges or by entering a number if that's kind of close to it, please feel free. Um, Thank you, Louise, for sharing. These are definitely challenging time, but either way, whenever you have any or some of these challenges, it feels very discouraging. But please know that you're not alone, right? We definitely will see that here today. So, how to tackle these challenges in a synchronous, asynchronous, or hybrid environment, And I just kind of went ahead and redefined them again here. So, just to make sure that we were all on the same page regarding these terms. So, so when you look at, for instance, a synchronous world, like these are the things that are important for you, right? You want to have active participation. You want to be able to dissolve the screen. And with dissolving the screen, you mean like really you want to be connecting with your students. So it's not just like they're just watching as, just watching you. So like you really want to connect. You don't want it to be a sit and get session. And then you also want to be able to start building that relationship, right? I know it's a little bit harder when it's versus first face to face, but you can still build a relationship with your students, even if you are virtual, right? And then when you look at an asynchronous world, that's when the students will just do their assignments whenever they're not in a live sessions, they're not together at the same time. You want to make sure that they still are interacting with the learning. So I definitely made a difference between active participation and interactive learning here for an asynchronous world. You want to also still keep on building those relationships and dissolving the screen. That's still going to be the case. But on top of that, you also want to dissolve the boundary between your asynchronous and synchronous students. You want to kind of create a cohesive classroom. And that's different. That's difficult. And I hope that some of the strategies I will be sharing today will help you. So to start with, increasing your attendance, engagement, participation, and collaboration, right? So this is from a blog post that I read from Dr. John Spencer. And if you don't know him, I definitely suggest that you look him up and follow him. So one of the things that he is mentioning is that when you are doing a session, that you invite specific students to that. You can send them either a private message or you can send them an email and say like, hey, I could really use your participation tomorrow. Or saying like, if you know that they're needing a little bit more help on a certain standard or a certain area, you could say like, hey, it's not required to attend tomorrow, but I would love for you to show up to our meeting tomorrow. I'll be reteaching it. Again, giving that connection, creating that connection that invites them to come in, right? Or just as simply like, hey, I've really missed you and I would love to see you. Okay. Um, Another thing is, we most of us have established office hours, right? But usually the turnout is not that great. So if you maybe give it a specific focus, that would also help with increasing people to attend. So it could be that you could say like, hey, on Tuesdays office hours, we will be covering problems 1 to 5. Please feel free to attend if you need additional assistance, if you want to double check if you're on the right track, things like that. Come to Tuesday session. And on Wednesday, we'll cover problem 6 to 10. Again, giving that specific focus to your office hours, again, may make it more relevant to them to say like, okay, I want to go to that particular one, or if I need either more help or if I want to make sure that I'm doing well. So instead of maybe saying like you're having help sessions, you may want to word them like these are going to be feedback sessions. It could be peer feedback sessions, or just general feedback sessions. And again, it helps with again lowering that bar for people to say like, hey, I'm gonna come to a feedback session, and remove that stigma of like, oh, the only ones that are in here are the ones that need help, right? Those are the ones that are not keeping up. No, it could be feedback. We all know that you can learn from feedback, and that you can always there's always room for improvement no matter where you are, what level you are. So if you really frame it that way, that could be another way for them to show up. And then on number four, we said like, um, you know, if it really isn't working, and when it's not working, just ask for honest feedback from your students. And I would recommend you do that in a form from in a survey, because that's the best way, an anonymous survey, of course, because that's the best way for people to really give you honest feedback to see how things are going. And I think if you also build that, it helps to build that culture of reflection, right? So definitely consider doing that. And then give it some social time. Intermix it. It could be anywhere. I have some ideas that are just a little short time to a little bit if you have more time to spend, but definitely bring that aspect in. Again, we want to make sure that it's good to bond together with a fun activity versus just all academics. And we all need it. We all need that little stress relief, and again, it helps also to build that community. And then providing choice. Who doesn't like choice, right? We all like choice. And again, besides just providing choice, which is nice, it also will make your students feel more empowered and in control of their learning. So that's definitely a great benefit to have. And again, I can't stress enough how important it is to build that community feel, that sense of belonging, right? People come back to a place where they feel they belong. So definitely by doing collaborative, interactive activities, that helps promote that. And then structure. Structure is kind of like our oasis sometimes in a world of chaos, or when things are just going not as, when things are just constantly changing. It's nice to know that you have something to rely back on, and it's comforting, right? And so, especially for those of you that have students that are remaining online, just be really keeping track of, maybe you have a list and you just keep track, that you really make sure that you check in with them more often. Because if you have the face-to-face students, of course, it's easier. But with the online kiddos, because our system is doing, or my system is actually doing both. We have both online and face-to-face students. So just make sure that you really check in with those kiddos that are remaining online, whether it's with just a little message or not. So, how are we going to build some social time? As I said, that is so important to build that sense of community, to build that sense of belonging. So, um, here are some ideas. I know this looks like a lot, but as I said again, this was really to try to help you to come back later on. But one of the ways would be to really call out the kids' names, right? So when we were doing the little ball video, which door it was going to go through, I tried to call out some names, but it's very hard when you're presenting and you're trying to watch, you know. The comments go by. It's truly, truly hard. So that's why I'm so grateful for Jose and Pet here. But just connecting that way, or saying like, the other day I saw Joe write this amazing comment about blah blah blah, or reflection or whatever. Just connecting that way, right? So that is definitely one way you can start already. And if it's real time, again, dissolving the screen by calling out people's names, by responding to what they've put in, that is really a great way to do that. So so from all of these different things that I have in here, I am, I have some icebreakers listed here, and I think most of you are probably familiar with that. But actually, where I wanted to skip to are some lunch, brunch, coffee chat ideas. And again, as I said, just because I put them here in categories doesn't mean you can use them in your classroom at different for different purposes, right? So I just try to be that. So one I kind of wanted to share was playing games in the. Oops, sorry, it's gonna actually force you to make a copy, which is kind of good. This was from. I believe I got this from, and I do give credit to Zen from um, Alice Keeler, I believe. If you are not familiar with Alice Keeler, she's also an amazing educator out there who does a lot of things. But these were games that were created using Google Slides. You know, really, just plain old Google Slides. So you can have the kids play Connect Four, right? So you can have them play that tic tac toe. Again, this would be great if you have like a little break session in there. For those of you maybe that have long blocks, you could have like a 10-minute, 15-minute break of just social time, and you just have the kids choose what they want to do. So that's definitely something you can do with the kiddos. Um, Let me go back here. So that's one. Another one I kind of to want point out is called Kid Power. This is from UNICEF. If you are not familiar with this is a free platform. This is from UNICEF. As I said, it is an amazing platform that has like video, dance, and yoga videos that you can do with your kids to do brain breaks. Um, but what is also neat about it, this is what I like about it too, is that when you watch it together with your class, you can earn points towards RUTS, which are high protein bars. And then if you've collected so many points, they will actually donate these bars to malnourished kids worldwide. So this is amazing. This is empowering your students that they can still do something good for the world, right? No matter their age, kindergarten and up, pre-K and up if you have pre-K, right? So that's awesome. And as I said, it's for free. They've just partnered up with Nickelodeon too. They have amazing things. You definitely have to go check that out. Another one that I wanted to do is, oops, oh, it's so hard when your thing is showing up here. I'm trying to get to my, and I don't know if I can. No, I can't. Is the emoji stories, and that is oh, that's where you have like little emoji prompts basically, and you can go ahead and click on there and start little warm ups. So that's really cool. Who doesn't like emojis, right? And then in just a little bit, in the next slide, I will actually show you how to draw videos that are a really fun way to do with kiddos as well, and actually even adults. I'll be honest, because my drawing skills are not that great. So on YouTube, if you have not come across this yet, this is a great channel that's a Draw Together. If you just search for Draw Together, you can find it. They have all these short little videos. I think the longest one is probably 10 minutes about different things that you can learn how to draw. So that's amazing. And they have all kinds of different topics, and you can definitely find something, I think, that connects to your subject. So here, for instance, is one that is about how to draw a beaker, which is a perfect intro to unit if you're a science teacher, right? So, anyways, I would definitely recommend that you go ahead and check those out. Um, and then, even if you cannot find a video, there's always different ideas that you can utilize with your students to have them draw a little bit to kind of. Sometimes that, not sometimes, it has been shown that it can also help deepen the learning that way. But for instance, if you're math and you want to draw a pie and then the slices to discuss fractions would be another idea. And for instance, for science, you can draw a cell and then label the parts, right? And things like that. So, anyways, and there's something that you can do for every subject, I believe, when it comes to drawing. Another quick way to kind of hook the students into your lesson would maybe be play like quick double trouble. So the best part of waking up, and so the missing letters appear twice. So anybody uh, wants to give a guess in the chat to see what the missing word is. I know I had some this morning. So
So in the
yeah, I
chat,
hope.
if you want to put that missing word in the chat for us, put that in there. Let's see. Let's see what we get.
Oh, I think Sarah, Jessica, and I
See,
hope I pronounce like Bobby Joe are getting it right. Yep, definitely. Yep, Brenda.
yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Brewing now, coffee. Yes, I think I probably need some more after this. So, yes. So definitely something you can do for a quick, and you can do it of course with a word that kind of with a vocabulary word that kind of is connected more to your unit that you're doing. And then, or you could do what's called wacky words or things like that, like what's in the black box. Anybody want to give a guess there? Oh, continue. I love that you put that little coffee emoji on there. Oh, Terrence. Oh, yeah, Terrence, you're doing yes, Sarah, you got it. Awesome, Devin. Awesome. Yep. Thanks. Yep. We did it. Love at first sight. Awesome, people. So you can, if you Google that as well, you can definitely find some different examples there. So and then another way to break up your pace during a live session would be, of course, to do breakout rooms, right? And we all know that. And even though that technically isn't like a strategy to, well, it is a strategy to, of course, increase participation and engagement more, I think. I just wanted to share these tips that I wish I had when I did breakout rooms the first time. So I'm gonna go for this really quick and hope you guys will find it helpful too. So if, of course, if you are going to plan on doing a breakout room and you have the ability in your platform that you're using to set up breakout lists ahead of time, please use that. And you could do that by maybe sorting people if you have gathered that information ahead of time, like maybe by grade level, by subject, by experience, whatever, similar for your students. Um, if you have the ability that people can rename themselves while in the chat, a great way is to ask them to rename themselves, and you kind of tell them what number they have to put in front of their name. And you would say, like, if you are an ELA teacher, I want you to put a number one in front of your name. If and then still their name, of course, followed by that number. If you are a math teacher, you would do two. If you're a social studies, three. And so then when for the person who is actually doing the breakout rooms, you can then easily sort everybody that has a one in front of their name into breakout room number one. Everybody in the room that has a two in front of them and breakout room number two. So this is really handy if you're doing any, if you want to do a specific sort for your breakout room, right? And then what's very important is not sending them off before you've explained expectations, how long they will be there. You might also want to maybe share with them, like, hey, I want you guys to have different roles. And when you're in the breakout room, like a facilitator, a reporter, a recorder, a timekeeper. And a reporter is somebody who would report out when they come back to the main room to share what they've discussed in their group. And then also telling maybe, like, whoever's first name comes first in the alphabet will start talking first, and then they assign the next person. So again, not wasting any time when you're in the breakout room. And then another thing that I found that is that sometimes I gave them the question, but then send them to the breakout room and then they didn't remember what the question was. So again, having that question somewhere for them in a Google Doc, or you can post it in the chat because they can still have access to the chat. Well, and I'm talking this from Zoom, of course, but I think it's pretty much the same for all platforms. They can still have access to the chat so they can then see what they need to discuss. And of course, there's different other ways that I've listed here, like a whiteboard, a Padlet, things like that. And then, of course, activities that come, and this is where I would like you to share also in the chat. And Hosea, if you can call out some great ideas for people sharing what other activities they can do besides the ones I've listed here on my screen, I would love to hear that. And I think this would also be a good time to see if there's any other questions people
Okay.
had.
So at this time, guys, there's two things we're going to need from you. What do you do in your breakout rooms? What are your breakout room ideas? And if you have any specific questions that you would like to pose to Ms. Vanravenstein, go ahead and put that in the chat right now. And we're going to give you about 30 seconds to a minute to do that. And then we're going to read off some of those ideas and questions. So let's see what we get in the chat. And Miss Vic is in the background collecting those questions and sending them to me. And we're going to read those out loud so everyone can get the answer together. So we see someone has created a scavenger hunt. They do as a group. That is an example of a breakout room that they have.
Oh, that's awesome.
We have
That's
escape room.
yes, definitely. Those are fun to do, escape rooms, right? And then whoever gets it first can come back to the main room.
We have Ms. Fob, Spanish class. They practice conversations. And guys, if you need ideas, they're right there in the chat. I would go back and visit this video and visit that chat. And if you are looking for ideas for your breakout rooms, they are flying in the chat right now.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. I see also a great one here from Janira, discussions on what they read together and share with others.
Awesome.
Love
And
it.
so, Ms. Van Ravenstein, we've gotten this question come up a couple of times in different versions. So we've got the question about what do you suggest with those teachers who are doing the hybrid model right now, where they're online students and students that are in person with them, and they're teaching at the same time. I know there's a couple of districts out here in Houston that are doing that, where there's kids in the classroom and there's kids online at the same time. Do you have any words of wisdom or ideas that you've used to assist the teachers? Because that question has come up a couple of times in the chat.
Okay. Yes, and that I will say that is the situation. That's the most challenging situation, right? Because you're managing both online and in-person students. So one thing for sure would be is to definitely display your online students on a projector if you have that and things like that, and so that that way they're still the students in the classroom can first of all see their classmates, and then I would do something if possible reverse as well. Have a camera um, looking out into the classroom as well for the kids that are on your Zoom. Well, I'm calling Zoom, but you know
Mhm.
what I mean. On your video live stream, or not live streaming, on your video platform, right? Your
Right.
virtual meeting platform. So that would be one way, right? To definitely have. And then whenever you are doing some kind of discussion or some things, create a digital workplace together where they can see each other's answers, because sound is going to be an issue, right, for the kids that are on your virtual thing. So they're always going to go like, oh, what did they say, because they can't hear, because if Joey way in the back or Lisa all way on the other side, they can't hear that. So definitely have like a, even if it's as simple as a Google Doc where they can
Okay.
type in things, that's fine. Or if it's something like a Padlet or a Jamboard, Google is really pushing Jamboard. If you're not familiar with Jamboard, that's a whiteboard. Again, if you're a G Suite for education system, it's included in there. But check that out. It might have to be turned on for your system in case you don't see it, by the way. Um, so definitely have that way so that they can all still connect, right? And when it comes to the teaching, and of course if you're online, you're going to be presenting to all the kids, and so even your face-to-face or online kids will be watching what you're doing at the same time, so that should still connect them. So those are ways to do that. Also doing activities that are collaborative and interactive. And I'll be sharing that a little bit later on. Those are some activities, I'll point them out, that are definitely you could do together with both, actually, even asynchronous and synchronous students. And when I say synchronous, I sometimes even mean kids that are both online and in the classroom at the same time. So,
Okay. Great answer. I hope you guys gathered that. And again, uh, she just spilled a ton of information for you guys to gather. And we have another question about breakout rooms. Actually, this is a great one here for all my kindergarten teachers here. Do you have any suggestions for breakout rooms for kindergartners, and how do you introduce that to our little babies going into breakout rooms?
yes, I know that is challenging, right, for those little ones. So, what I probably would suggest is do a real, a little bit of a scaffolded release, so to speak. And that is, I would definitely, hopefully, you have an aid, or if not, maybe you can borrow somebody for the day. And what I would do is the first time you would ever expose them to them is have your person who's helping you out, your assistant, stay with most kids, and then you hop with a small group every time to a breakout room. So you can kind of go with them in the breakout room, explain to them how it looks like, what is this, and all of that, so that you kind of go with them into breakout rooms to first of all kind of ease them into that. And then what's most important, and I don't think it's only for kindergartners, but it's really setting your expectations. Because when you do breakout rooms, you cannot be in all of those breakout rooms at the same time, right? You can hop around, right? So you do have to set your expectations really clearly ahead of time. Like this will not be tolerated, or even have them come up with their own norms, right? How are we expected to behave in breakout rooms? Are we going to be name calling? Are we going to be insulting? Like that stuff? Or are we going to do silly stuff? Are we going to be, address it ahead of time because they know, and also address the consequences. And like I've always told kids, choices and consequences, nobody moves your mouth, you move your own mouth. Nobody does your thinking, you do your own thinking. So do give them, that responsibility. Yes, they get a little bit more freedom being in a breakout room because you can be there at all times, but with freedom comes responsibility.
Absolutely, and we're seeing people asking for the link. I just dropped the link in the
Awesome.
chat again. So if you're looking for some of this information that she is providing, if you look where it says TCCA 08, that is me, and I am dropping the link to the information she is giving there for you all to
Awesome.
proceed.
Yes. Thank you so much, Jose. I
No
appreciate it.
problem.
I will post the link again in Sket later on, but you have the link right now. So, just a key idea that I wanted you to kind of remember that we're social beings. Yes, we are social distancing right now, but that does not mean that we can't build still connections with each other. And we all need it more than ever, and our kids need it too. So I kind of wanted to go on to the choices, right? How you can also create more interaction and participation. And I think, of course, this is for synchronous, but asynchronous world also, this is really great. And so you can do, students are tired of doing the same old. And if you were the keynote speaker, he says, we have to innovate our teaching. We have to innovate learning, right? Education. So you can do what's called a total choice menu that I'm displaying right now. And that is where you let them choose the learning targets. Of course, you can be very strategic about what learning targets you build up there, because hopefully you've looked at your data and you know where your kiddos need a little bit more support, but they can still choose which ones they want to tackle first. Then you can also give them a choice in the resources they want to pick to further their mastery in that particular learning target. And then you can also give them choice into the how they're going to show their mastery, right? So this is what we call a total choice menu. And again, it's a little bit different from the more well-known traditional choice menus that usually give choice in the product where kids show their mastery. But this is just something you may want to consider exposing your students to. And again, it builds up that agency in students, right, for their own learning. So there are some different variations out there, and I just wanted to share some of the great resources that are out there. So again, that you can start, you don't have to start from scratch yourself. If you're not familiar with Shake Up Learning, that's another great educator I would like to recommend. But if you scroll down to the one that I've hyperlinked in here, she has some great, well, there's our game, tic-tac-toe choice menus. And she also has links to templates, and then some examples from some other educators as well. So I definitely invite you to go ahead and peruse that at your own time. Given the time, I'm not going to be able to spend too much time on there, but I just wanted to show you so you can go back. Another way would be to have a website that has choices on there. And so this is something we did in my district for kids over the summer. So it's definitely has more fun enrichment activities. But we were very mindful to also give activities what we called unplugged activities. And what that means is activities you can do away from the computer. Because again, since we're sitting behind the computer so much of the time, we really want to make sure that we also are doing activities away from the computer, right? It's also good for our eyes and health, mental health, right? So anyway, so that's one other thing I wanted to show. Then another one is hyperdocs. So hyperdocs are a specialized form, I think I want to say, of choice menus, is that they're all centered around the same learning standard or learning target. Okay. They even have a free course on their website. So I definitely recommend you go and check them out as well. And then one thing I wanted to share more here is um, in our system again, we wanted them to actually reflect on their learning, right? And so that was really so that they would share with us first what they chose, and then to reflect on their learning when they did when from their choice that they picked. And again, this is to help build up that habit of reflection, right, in our students. So these are just some ideas that I wanted to share real quick with you guys, and um, so you can go peruse it later on. So moving on. So when you do offer choices in products, one thing I kind of also wanted to share here with you to kind of keep in mind is that you also offer choices in the amount of technology that's needed, right? And that is, again, honoring their choices as a, honoring their agency as a learner with choices, but also making sure that it helps with a more equitable way of showing learning. And you can show learning different ways, right? So I just wanted to point it out that you definitely can offer like what we call a no tech, a low tech, and a high tech option as well when students are being asked to show their mastery. So just a little plug I wanted to give you. And then here, we're coming almost to the end of it. So interactive and collaborative activities. And I think here are some activities that you will find that will be very useful for when you're doing both what some people were asking, when you're both having online students and face-to-face students at the same time. Sorry, quick sip. All righty. So of course, if you're working on a Google slide together, that would be a great way for kids to work, because what you could do is, for instance, you could ask kids that you could just put a deadline, and so your synchronous kids could be working with you together when you're having your live session. You could be working on it together, but then your asynchronous kids still know that there's a deadline that they need to put their information on there. Right? So that would be one simple way where you could still, again, dissolve that boundary between your asynchronous and synchronous kiddos as well. Another one would be if you're doing a jigsaw. And for those of you that may not be familiar with jigsaw, because I know we have some international folks attending as well. So jigsaw is basically, real quick, you chunk up, you have some content, you chunk it up in pieces, and you assign each piece to a group of students, and then you ask them to get the highlights out of their piece of information that they had to take care of, and then they'll share it back out. So one great way would be is to actually have one document, and you assign each group to a particular slide, and that's where they would put their information on. Again, even if you have in a group kids that are both asynchronous and synchronous, the synchronous kids could do it when you're doing it together, when you're in your live sessions, and the asynchronous kids know that they have to do it by a certain time because you've posted that in your assignment as well, so they can still communicate with their teammates that way, and they would put all their information together. And the nice thing is of doing it in one document versus asking everybody to have their own document is that when it comes to sharing the information, because remember, you chunked one big piece of content into smaller pieces, when it's time to kind of present it to the whole group, you have it all in one document. Gives for a smooth presentation, because every group stuff will be in there, and then they just can highlight their part whenever the time comes. So again, feel free to make copies. These are all templates that people have shared online to be shared out. There's no issues there. Um, I know some people talked about scavenger hunts, field trips. Those are things you can do. When you do show and tells, though, again, you can do show and tells live, right? Both with online kiddos and kids that are in the room, but also asynchronous kids could do their show and tell through video, right? They can upload a video again by a certain time, and that way they can do their show and tell. Um, One thing I do want to kind of stress is when you do show and tell, sometimes we use it also as a share activity, right? That we be mindful that we don't ask things like, share what the best thing was you did this past weekend, because we have to be mindful that maybe not everybody may have had a great weekend, right? Or maybe sometimes you say like, oh, share the best vacation you ever had. Well, maybe not everybody's able to afford to go on vacations and things like that. So just doing show and tells is better. Like, hey, share what has been your favorite book you've read, or your favorite poem, or your favorite food or color or whatever, right? So definitely be mindful of that. So another activity that I think is really great to do with students is called sketchnoting. If you're not familiar with sketchnoting, it's basically creating like notes that involve some drawing. And I have a video linked in here to introduce you to sketchnoting if you're not familiar with it. But again, this is a great way to do with students. I would start with a very um, a low stake activity, but again, using maybe those draw together videos to build up those skills. I could use those. As I said, not a great artist here. Um, but again, uh, it would be great for students to do it together, right? You do it together, you can introduce maybe the basics, and then maybe do a virtual gallery afterwards to see what people got from when you guys discussed maybe a certain topic and what kind of sketch notes people make, because every brain works differently. And so it will be great for kids to see like how everybody captured that information. Polaroid notes, I am excited. I actually saw that the people who did the Polaroid notes are here at the TCCA conference. So check them out. I think I highlighted, I think it's the end of the day. So definitely go check that out. Those are one pagers of notes that you can take. Um, and then there's interactive platforms as Peer Deck and Nearpod, if you have probably heard of them before, where students can interact with the presentation. And again, this is perfect for when you're doing it live or when you're doing it asynchronous. You can put it in a student self-paced mode, and they will actually interact with the slides. I didn't do it today. I usually like to do it for my presentations, but I didn't want you guys to be flipping back and forth between tabs, because I know that is also sometimes distracting. And just because these sessions are so short in a way, you want to stay on top of it, right? And then I know some people had already shared this scavenger hunts, breakout games. So awesome. I'm glad to see that. Those are definitely fun activities to do together. Check out the links that I have here. And I know this was also shared by somebody else about discussing books, right? When you do that. And then doing discussions also, I think that's a great way, right? To do discussions. Because with discussions, you not only teach kids to be exposed, or you actually expose kids not only to different points of views, which helps with opening up their minds, right? But if you actually do very well construed and rigorous discussions, you can actually have what they call a learning effect size of 2 years, up to 2 years. So if you're not familiar with John Hattie, that comes from John Hattie. John Hattie is a researcher who's done research on what the effect size is of different pedagogical learning strategies in the classroom and which ones promote a lot of student growth. And so, again, discussions can be up to um, up to 2 years worth of growth. So Parlay is a platform that we've used in my district this year, and we were really happy with it. I think my time is almost up, so I am just going to leave you with this: is that yes, it is going to be messy. Yes, it's going to be hard, but if you build your relationships, that is really the key. And even though there's tons of great ideas, I know there's tons of great ideas here at TCCA. Don't feel overwhelmed by trying to incorporate them all. Just kind of start small and really work your way through it. And yes, they may not work out well, but don't give up. Keep trying. And these are just some additional things you can. But this is really what I wanted to leave you guys with. Thank you for doing all the amazing work you guys do each and every day and beyond. And so I think that is my alarm telling me that my time is up. So if there are any more questions for me before we wrap it up, Hosea?
Yes. So actually, I have a question that came in, but first I want to say, guys, she just provided some great information. But not only that, she just gave you guys some great resources. So I'm going to post it one last time in the chat. If you have not clicked on the link, it'll be under TCCA '08. If you have not clicked on that link, all that information she gave, all those resources are there. She took the thinking out for you and just laid it on a beautiful plate for you to grab. Okay, so it's there for you. The super secret password to receive your certificate is the word inspire. Again, the super secret password to receive your certificate is the word inspire. Okay, and we got one more question. Do you mind answering one more question for us here?
Of course.
All right. Uh, this is a great question. It says, what ideas do you have that teachers can implement for ELL students involving breakout rooms?
Oh, that is a good question. And I will have to kind of think. And if some people have some other ideas, please put that in the chat as well. But for ELL, I know that some of the strategies would be to do a lot more with visuals, right? Um, so definitely utilize that. I will say that a lot of these tools are also starting to have these. They call it sometimes accommodation tools. They sometimes call it immersive reading tools. So they are starting to have where I see a lot of them are having the translation in there. So definitely provide those extra tools, so these scaffolding tools, right, for your students
Right.
to utilize. And I guess be very mindful of what kind of activities you want to give them. But please do the breakout rooms, because I do think that kids learn so much more from when they interact with their peers, right? And just because they don't speak the language, even if they may not speak up right away, just listening, right, to others speak, that also helps them with, first of all, understanding and learning the new language, but also helps build up their vocabulary, right? So I'm sorry that it's not really, as you can tell, it's not really completely my area of expertise, but just drawing from that. And if anybody else that is in that world, more in that world, please share those ideas, because I believe in crowd sharing and you know sharing with each other, collaborating with each other, because that's the best way for all of us to learn together.
I think that was a fantastic answer. And guys, answer in the chat, because I know I'm going to go back and watch this video and I'm going to go steal all the ideas that I like in the chat. So I'm going to go back and check it out. So guys, be a friend, help a teacher out across the country, across the world right now, and drop those ideas for breakout rooms in the chat. Grab that link in the chat. And what I'm going to do now is go ahead and end the session. Once again, the super secret password to get your certificate is Inspire. Thank you, Miss Pat Vick in the background, for getting those questions to me. Thank you, Claudette Vanravenstein. You were amazing. And if you look
Thanks.
at if you look at the chats, they think you're pretty amazing too.
Oh, thanks.
So with that
Thanks,
being said,
everybody. Have a great rest of the day learning.
that's right. Hey, have a great TCCA, remainder of TCCA. We're going to give you time to get to your next session, and we're going to end this one. And remember, wash your hands and social distance. See you guys soon. Thank you, Miss Van Ravenstein.
Thank you, Zaya.